Hello everyone and welcome back to AK Academy after that long cut. Here we are back again in this developing desktop apps with Blazor and Electron. Sorry for being late all the time, but the situation in the last period wasn't that good. But right now everything's perfect and hopefully we are going back on the track like at the beginning of the channel, videos about within 24 hours or 48 hours at most. And right now, another thing to mention that my website is ready. Right now, it's going to be full of posts and blog posts related to the content we are talking about here. So right now, when you ask me about any new video or new thing, if I am not able to make a video about it, of course, I will be able to make a blog post to answer that question. So right now, the interaction is going to be better and better. So the topic of today is how we can store data offline. Basically, every desktop application needs to store data. For example, if you have Skype or any mobile application, look at WhatsApp, look at Facebook, all the mobile applications, or even the mail app, you need to store data offline. And the best database for that is basically called SQLite. SQLite is a very light database and it's the most widely used database across the globe because it's very lightweight, it's easy to create and deal with. There are a lot of restrictions, but at the end, you don't need it to be that complicated like the database is going to be existing on the server side. It is just to store the data offline, maybe sometimes for just temporary time, not always. So this is what I are going to mention regarding creating a SQLite database. It's just like creating an SQL server. We will do it using EntityFrameworkCore code first because there is a provider specific for SQLite. It's going to be a very easy process. So we can see how we can implement that so our desktop application can work perfectly offline. So first of all, to get started, we have to install all the required libraries. So I'll get started by, if you are following up with Visual Studio, you can use the NuGet package, the NuGet package manager by typing the code install package or whatever. Here, because we are targeting all the platforms, either you are on Linux, Mac, or Windows, you can use the .NET add package command, and you can type Microsoft.EntityFrameworkCore.Sqlite to install the package. Okay, that's great. Right now, we need to install the add package Microsoft.EntityFrameworkCore.Tools to have the commands available for us. Okay. Now, also again, when you are using the NuGet package manager console, you type the add migration to create migrations, and then you call the update database. Here, because you are using the .NET command, CLI or the .NET command line interface, you have to install the EF CLI or the Entity Framework CLI so you are able to add migrations or update the database. And to do so, make sure to call this command if you haven't already. It's .NET tool install dash global, and it is .NET-ef. Click enter. It's tools. Okay, what's happening here? Let's have a look. Sorry for that. It's .NET tool install. I'm typing install, then dash global .NET-ef at enter. Okay, it's already existing on my machine, but if it's not existing, so it's going to be installed only one time. It's being installed immediately. It doesn't take that time, but yeah, you have to install it so you are able to call the entity framework commands to add the migration and did the database and doing all this stuff. So right now, let's move to the coding part. I'll create a new folder, call it models, and within that model, I will create a new file. Let's call it to-do item.cs. Okay, that's great. Here, let's add using system namespace Blazor desktop demo.models. Now let's create the class to do item. Okay, let's create the ID. It's going to be string GUID. So in this case, we have to add key attribute. So Entity Framework should know that this is the primary key. Let's add string description like that, and bool is done. Just going to be that easy. There is, because it's just a little demo here, let's add string length 80 and required. Yeah, just exactly like creating any other SQL database. So this is our fantastic model. It's ready. Right now we can move to the data folder and let's create the application dbcontext.cs like that. Okay, using system namespace blazor.data public class application dbcontext. It inherits from dbcontext like that. Sorry. Okay, that's perfect. Now let's create the constructor here. Public application dbcontext. Okay, as a parameter it takes dbcontext options. It's a generic, and let's pass the type application dbcontext, call it options, and then let's pass those options to the constructor of the base, which is the dbcontext constructor. That's great. And the last step we should do is just add the property dbset to do item, call it items. Okay, that's it. It's pretty easy right now. This is a very basic dbcontext, and we have the model here. So let's move right now to the startup.cs. Save. Okay, this is startup.cs. We have to add the dbcontext here, register it in the dependency injection container. So services.add dbcontext application dbcontext like that, and takes options. Okay, good. Now options.use SQLite like that. We have to import Microsoft.EntityFrameworkCore. Then here we have to pass the connection string, and this database is going to be just a very basic .db file. So the connection string is also very basic. What you have to do is just data source equals to do items db.db. It's a file with the extension .db. It's just pretty basic and simple. That's it. Actually, it's very easy. This is everything. Right now we can create the database by first calling dotnet-ef like that. Then we can call the command migrations add init database. Set enter. So now the project's being built. Then we should have a migrations folder here that contains the initial migration of the database. Okay, if you take a look here, we have migration, and we have this one, which is creating this table with the primary key and whatever. Okay, that's great. Now we can call .NET EF database update. That's amazing. Here we can have a look to do items DB. This is our database, and we are ready to deal with that. So to start working with this database, I will create another basic page. Go to pages, and let's add new page. I'll call it to do items.razor. Very basic component. Add page. Let's add the router. To do items. That's great. Let's inject the application db context. Okay, that's good. And we have to add using here Blazor demo.models. Yeah, so that's cool. Here I will add a coding section. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is basically just add a simple button. Whenever I click this button, it's going to add a fixed item to the database. And whenever we open this page, it's going to retrieve those added items. Just because it's basic, it's not about dealing with that, how to insert data or retrieve or forms. It's just about how we can deal with the database. So I will create a list of to-do item, call it items equals new, list like that. Okay. Then here I will call protected override void on initialized items equals db.todoitems.toList. So here we have, cannot see this, the application db context. Let me go to the data and have a look. Sorry, it's called items. So basically, yeah, right now it's just a greet, and I will create another function called add fixed item. Okay, var item equals new to do item id equals GUID, which is a global unique identifier. It's a random ID being generated about 40 characters. Then description demo item is done equals true. Let's add that to the database. db.items.add the item, db.save changes. So when we add the item, we will add it also to the list in the UI. Okay, this is all the C# code we want to deal with that. What we still have to do is just to create the page. So to do items, then we will have a table, class table bordered td, create the cells, description, and it's done like that. Here we have tbody. Here we should iterate over the items. Yeah. Now within each iteration we need a row. Within each row we have two cells, item.description and at item.isDone. Yeah, that's it. It's pretty basic. Yeah, we still have, we need the bottom as btn success, at on click, add fixed item, called add item. So that's it. It's pretty basic. Right now we can go to the page share and let's add a link to that page in the nav menu. I'll copy this one, paste it here, take me to the to-do items page, and this one also to-do items, just like that. So right now, before we run this application in Electron, let's run it in the browser to make sure that everything is just working great. So I'll call .NET build, and I will call .NET run. Great. Let's call this one. Go to the browser. So here we have to-do items. If I open it, okay, no items exists. If I click here, items will be added. Then if I refresh that page, you can see the items is always there because they have been added to the database. That's great, but there is something else we should do. Sorry. What's gonna happen if we run this application in Electron? So let's try to do that by calling Electron start. Okay, let's go to-do items, and basically we will get this error. And this is the point here. Actually, the database has been created here in the root folder of the project, but the Electron project every time is being published within the bin debug.NET Core 3.1. Here we have the Windows x64. So we need to take this file to the output folder. So every time we build the project, this file should be also goes to the output folder with the output results. So if I click here in the Visual Studio, normal Visual Studio, you can choose that from the Solution Explorer, go to the build action and choose copy always. But here, the property called the copy to output folder and set it to always from the UI. But here, because we don't have that feature, we have to do that in ourselves by manipulating the .cs project. It's very easy. Let's open that. Blazor desktop demo.cs project. Here we have something called item group. So within it, I should add an item called none. Then update, type the name of the file. It's going to be called to-do items db.db, and specify copy to output directory, set it to always, and close that. That's it. It's pretty easy. Right now, let's call .NET build. So the database will go to the output folder with the final.exe project. Now let's call Electron start. Okay. That's it. This is the same data I have inserted when I opened the project in the browser. Right now I can see them here. If I click on add items, those items will stay here all the time. So right now when you publish the project and being sent to the customers, you are able to store all the data offline and within the application of your client. So you can sometimes maybe your app store some data. For example, let's have a look at what apps do we have here. For example, the mail. If you cut on the internet or there is no internet connection, basically the mail is working great and you can open and check some of your emails because this data is being saved locally in a SQLite database. This is, for example, also the weather application is doing the same thing. News, Skype, all this application is doing that. Even Microsoft Edge. So in these scenarios, you can cover all of this using this the SQLite database with EntityFramework.NET Core and Blazor with Electron. All of this together, you can create this awesome part of your project. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any question, feel free just to put it in the comment section below. I will try to go to it as soon as possible. And again, sorry for that long period without any videos, but right now we are back to answer the questions and the new videos in a very short time, like within a day or 2 days at most. There's going to be a new video like the first period of the channel. Thank you so much for your continuous support all the time, and don't forget to hit the like, subscribe button so to keep us on the track. Thanks again.